Yeah, I never got around to covering this on a stream, but for those who haven't seen, although I'm sure a lot of you have already, last month, so on the 21st of December, Matara put out an announcement where she formally announced she was doing away with the art competition for this point at this point in time. So, hi Momos and VShojo fans. I wanted to give you all an update on the Matara Khan x VShojo art contest. It is with great sadness that I must announce that I will no longer be going ahead with the planned art contest. I went into this with far too much eagerness and not enough planningness. Thus, I ended up with the outline of a contest that upset a lot of our fans and entrants. This art contest was a great lesson for me. I would like to thank the many artists who reached out to educate me. That was hard to get out without gagging. Thank you all so much for your genuine interest and, most importantly, your genuine advice on what I can do to improve for the next time I hold a fan contest. I have taken it all to heart. Lastly, I apologize for taking so long to address this. I wrote and rewrote this a million times and it never felt perfect. It never felt like my response would be enough for this. The longer I took, the worse I felt, feeling that I'll be upsetting even more people by not going through with the contest. So, with that, I just want to apologize again, and from the bottom of my heart, I will do better next time. What I said before about beaten wife apologizing for drunken husband, that's exactly the same vibe that I get off of this. The educate yourself thing makes me so angry, mate. No, absolutely. We are aligned. We are aligned 100% for that one, Mullington. Oh. So, part of the reason I suspect when I talk about how taking Twitter too seriously can be detrimental to you, this is one of the textbook ways in which that happens, where Twitter is basically the digital equivalent of the town square. And the problem is, if you want to accommodate every single person that might stop to listen to what you're yelling out in the middle of the town square, and you want to make sure that all of them are happy with what you say, you've set yourself up to have a nigh impossible task. And it doesn't really surprise me that this was something that Matara agonized over for an extended period of time. Part of the reason why I felt like it was such a shame that the contest was cancelled was because there's something about being a bug VTuber that makes drawing art, that makes it so that you seem to get such an interesting combination of different art styles, vibes, and genres, where people seem to be, it tends to attract the fan artists that are capable of drawing really wholesome, really beautiful, wholesome stuff, but also this weirdly grotesque, macabre bits of art as well. And you always get such a refreshing mix of the two of them when you have people congregating to draw fan art of a bug tuber, for want of a better term. Because I know that just from watching Dizzy art show up on my timeline over the last few months or so, you always get this really funny mix of just, absolute comedy plus existential horror, or just body horror as well. And you don't seem to get that as much with other VTuber tropes when it comes to models or personas. So part of the reason why I feel like the cancellation of this art contest was such a shame was, I know that I personally was looking forward to seeing that on my feed for a little bit. I'm sure a lot of other people were looking forward to that kind of thing as well. Yeah, it's the overlap of cute, horny, and horror. Exactly, reindeer. Because August, thank you for the 5. I suggested on Twitter that she should have offered signed merch or voice packs that fans would want and grifting artists wouldn't. Yeah, no, I saw a lot of people suggesting that, actually. Oh yeah, one other thing, though, I will say, because when this post went up, I did see a few people tagging me in it. I would put in small request for you guys in particular. When you see a post like this that has to do with something that I've talked about on stream, I will ask that as a little point of courtesy to the person posting this, it would be best if you were able to, if you wanted to tag me, I would prefer that you do it in a quote tweet rather than in the replies. Mostly because I don't want the off chance of the replies just being filled with at expert armchair instead of people comforting her and stuff. because this was probably something that she did take a lot of time agonizing to get out. So just in future, I asked that if you're going to tag me in something, just tag me in a quote tweet rather than in the replies to a post, especially if the post is, of this nature. But the thing is, when you read through this apology, right, when you assess it as an attempt at communicating with a specific audience, if we go through the entire process of going, okay, who is this aimed at? Who is actually going to listen, etc., etc., etc. This was so close to being a perfect apology. I think that if it had, there is one sentence in the entirety of this thing that, if removed, would have elevated this apology tenfold, because it would have been aimed at a group of people that would have actually listened to it, or actually listened to what she had to say. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious as to which one it is. You could probably tell by the way, by the fact that I stopped to make a quip after reading it. The thing about this entire apology, right? It addresses all the different points that people were complaining about beforehand, right? She admits that there was probably some sort of mistake in terms of not going through it with enough planning, or maybe rushing through it in her enthusiasm, etc., etc. The thing is, right, this event could have worked even with the requirements that she ended up going with. So this is after the amendment stream where she just hung out with the Momos to ask about what she should change, and where she decided to lower the character limit from 6 to 4. Even then, with no changes to prize money, or even without the prize money, this event could have worked, because it would have just been a community event. It would have just been an opportunity for Momos or other people who are similarly fans of Vshoujo talents to make something fun, put it on the timeline, and everyone could sit there, scroll, and enjoy for a few hours to a few days. That could have been the perfect outcome. But now we don't get that, because now the contest as a whole has been cancelled. And I want to make this very clear. I don't blame Matara a bit for cancelling this, because I'm sure for someone who tried to do their first art contest ever, this was probably a very sobering way of finding out what kind of people that might attract, or how that could go wrong. In fact, in a perverse way, I think this might end up being a good thing in the long term, because going by Matara's on-screen personality, I highly doubt that she is going to allow this to happen to anybody else at Vshoujo. So I might end up looking quite stupid a few months down the line, potentially. But at risk of making a fool out of myself, I highly doubt that Matara is going to allow anybody else to go through what she went through here at any point in the future while she's at Vshoujo. Just going off of her personality. But the thing about this is that I think all of us realized that when she wrote, "I would like to thank the many artists who reached out to educate me," I feel like a lot of people might have sort of cringed slightly when they read that, because those artists ruined it for everybody else. It was always an option to simply look at the prize money, look at the requirements, and go, yeah, you know what, this isn't worth my time. I shouldn't participate in this. Instead of whinging and bitching and moaning about how the requirements should change so that it might be hypothetically worth their time should they win. Because that's a lot of mental hoops to jump through before you can even start assessing it in terms of monetary value. And I think I made a post about this at some point a few days after it went live, but that assumption, when you're just looking at the prize money and going, oh, that should go up because, oh, it's not worth my time otherwise, that is assuming, right? And I don't normally say this because, well, if anyone deliberately sets out to pay you with exposure, I'd make fun of them too. But that way of approaching this contest assumes that the acknowledgement of Matara and her fan base is worth zero. And that's what pisses me off about the entire thing. Because people who have that attitude towards Matara and the Momos were not the kind of people who should have been participating in this. Because they probably weren't going to be the kind of people who would even enjoy scrolling past all the various fan works that would have emerged on the timeline the next day. Because it doesn't interest them, I would assume. I can only assume that. And remember, I want to remind all of you guys of this. During the stream where Matara was, the second stream where Matara went live to sort of, work out the details of this competition, what should change, what shouldn't change, etc., etc., she mentioned that the people who were complaining about the prize money were not complaining about the bottom brackets. They were complaining about the first place prize, second place prize. And this is where I draw a very clear distinction. If you want artists to be, quote unquote, more respected, if you want to make it more worth their time, if you cared about artists as a nebulous general term and or demographic, I can see why you would advocate for increasing the prize pool, as in the total amount of money offered across all of the different prize brackets, especially if you advocate for increasing the bottom brackets in terms of their winnings. If you went from 100 for 5 participants to 200 for 5 participants who didn't come first, second, or third. But if you're complaining about the prize money and you're only complaining about the first or second place, yeah, nah, sorry. It's not about respecting artists anymore. It's just about you trying to justify participating in this competition as if you were making a commission. There's no other way that you can interpret that. And that's why, when Matara mentioned that, that's what convinced me, okay, yeah, no, these people are all just... They are all just looking to participate in this cynically. Anyone, and I mean anyone, who complained about the top prizes instead of just the prize pool as a whole, I think those people should have just been blacklisted from the competition so that it didn't have to be cancelled for everybody else. Because it wasn't the fan artists who were complaining. It wasn't the members of the community who understood the assignment were complaining about. It's not something that they would have complained about. It was just going to be career artists who viewed this as basically a commission on the side. I can only assume. So the fact that this was cancelled in deference to their quote-unquote advice. The thing is, right, and this ties back to what I was talking about. Yeah, they are entitled children, yeah. This ties back to what I was talking about back when I did the stream where I reacted to Quinn's rant, where, to bring back that crude metaphor that I used, when your community watches you apologize to an audience that is not going to listen to you, you are basically NTRing them, but in terms of dialogue or communication. It's actually quite ironic that I might need to bring this up, because Matara is the person who famously coined the phrase, "Men are easy, just be nice to them." And she's absolutely right when she said that, by the way. She remains right to this day. The thing is about communities, audiences, regardless of whether they say this or not, they want to feel special. They want reassurance from you as their content creator that they and they alone are special to you. And this is completely normal. For example, you guys. I care about the lot of you a hell of a lot more than I care about some random Twitter users. Part of the reason why I don't actually take what's being said on Twitter seriously. So the thing is, in this particular case, one of the main gripes that I have with this response, and that's purely because of this one sentence, by the way, is because it diminishes that aspect of addressing your audience as if they are special. They are separate from a general audience as well. When you appease an audience that's not your community, that doesn't actually care about you, that isn't really willing to listen to you so much as they will pretend to so that they can influence your actions or words, that diminishes how special your audience is, at least as a generalized message that you're sending out. The thing is, when you look at who lost the most in the wake of this cancelled event, it's not the artists that were bitching and moaning, because they were bitching and moaning about how they would have not participated anyways, and how, oh, if only so-and-so thing changed, then I might be able to participate. No, they didn't lose jack shit. The only people who lost something with the cancellation of this event were, funnily enough, members of Matara's community, the people who would have participated regardless of the stipulations and or the prize money that was being offered. People who probably would have participated even if there was no prize money. They were the ones who actually lost out on something because they were the ones who were going to participate from the get-go. And the thing is, by including this one line, not only have you made it... This may sound harsh, but that group of people, the fans who are going to participate in this regardless, they are the only people who deserve an apology in this particular case. And I get that may sound, that may sound unpleasant, that may sound rude, that may sound impolite, that may sound inconsiderate, but it's true. They were the only ones who actually lost something when this event was cancelled. And so when you not only... I want to phrase this in a way that's as gentle as possible. When you make it so that this apology isn't exclusive to them, but you also make it so that you are apologizing to the people who caused that loss for your fan base, it doesn't send a great message when it comes to solidifying the fact that your community comes first. As someone who is familiar with concepts like audience segmentation, demographic identification, stuff like that, it doesn't even convince me that you are capable of discerning who or what your audience is. And this is part of a gripe that I have with a lot of the we accept everyone mentality that the Vishojo talents have going as a general trend among individuals, individual talents at that company. Because if you refuse to draw clear lines between who is or who isn't part of your fan base, and if you are accepting to the point of not actively excluding, shall we say, detrimental behavior, then you lose the ability to secure the integrity of your own spaces. You lose the ability to reassure your audience, at least to some extent, that they are indeed special to you, that they are priority numero uno. Because at the end of the day, just like how, men are easy, just be nice to them, it may seem redundant to do, but just telling your audience, communicating to them, whether through your words or through your actions, yeah, no, you guys are different from the rest of the screaming strangers on the internet, because you're my screaming strangers on the internet. That's something that's worth doing.